Josh, this is Walter. He is 18 months old. He's a golden retriever. He lives in Washington, D.C. A very friendly guy, very exuberant guy. However, it's obvious they struggle with jumping, pulling very hard on the leash. Cannot be off leash. She said she just doesn't trust that he would come back. He would just get distracted by something. The jumping and constant excitement makes it hard for them to do just about anything or have people over. So overall, just getting some control over him and teaching how to regulate the energy.
Yeah.
I really struggled with potties. I mean, he just wanted to jump all over me. And he also jumps on the door and like pedals at the door when he wants to come in.
Yeah.
And then when he does come in, he won't go in his crate.
I'm not going to be able to adjust that collar.
No, I had a really hard time putting the collar on. Constant, just 100 miles an hour.
Well, this is pretty typical.
Yes.
Association of humans. In the modern world, we see this a lot. We're just a resource. We're just their toys.
Yes, until the next toy comes along.
Exactly.
Because he would have had no problem dragging his owner down to get to me.
They're so bad on the leash. It's
Yes,
super dangerous.
it's crazy.
It's fun. It's an interesting topic is that they're friendly, so then you think there's no problems. But the truth is they're a big liability.
Yeah, and I forget which one it is, but one of them chipped somebody's tooth jumping on them because it caused her to like close her mouth at a weird angle, and she chipped a tooth because of the dog.
Yeah. So we've had stories where dogs like this, just like this, have broken people's legs, broken ribs,
drag people down.
And, they're not trying to be malicious, but they cause serious injuries because there's no regulation to the energy or behaviors. All right, here we go. We're going to start with the recall. I'm going to tone him, give him his first bit of stim here. What's his name?
Walter.
Come here, Walter. Atta boy, how are you? He felt the stem. It turned off when he got to me. Come here, Walter. Come here. Come here.
He's the one that didn't want to come inside.
Good. Hi, how are you? Did they get them from the same litter?
No.
Come here, bud.
They're a couple months apart, too.
Come here. One thing he'll be learning here, other than the commands, is the state of mind, the calm state of mind. And that allows us to give calm affection, where the affection actually creates calmness instead of amping the dog up, so we can use it as a reward system, where he'll be earning the affection and praise. We're not just giving it away for free, which I know for a fact that, just by seeing how he behaves at people, that is given away for free. Just because you're alive, you get all that.
And he's cute.
Right, and you're cute, and you're a dog. But we really, you're raising a kid, you're raising a dog, just like you raise a kid. You can't just lather them up with all these rewards and they don't earn it. Otherwise, it creates a brat or a spoiled dog, an entitled dog. Same with the kid. And so I think deep down we all know this, but we're just, when it comes to dogs, these days particularly, the knowledge that most people know about behavior just kind of goes out the window. Right? You got a cute dog, so let me just pet it for no reason. You use the pets as a reward. If the dog's not behaving how you want, don't give him the reward. You gotta realize that this is a reward, right? Praise, oh good boy, nice job. That's a reward. So if he's crazy, right, and you're saying be crazy, or if you're saying anything with a high pitch, oh good boy, that's rewarding to them typically. So if he's in a crazy state and you're doing that, that's rewarding it. What does rewarding it do? Increase it and make it more intense. Right? What does punishment do? Decrease it, make it less intense. Right? So, the idea of regulating energy, this is what dogs will do with each other, is if the dog starts to raise in energy inappropriately, they get corrected. and then that lowers the energy. Once the energy lowers, they get rewarded. And that'll create a dog who will self-regulate their energy and they'll stay calm, okay? So it's curious to see how he does when we start implementing things this way, instead of having it backwards, where you're literally training him to be crazy. Every time he's intense, he's getting rewards. Not just being pet, but he's crazy on the leash, right? He's crazy. Let's go outside and give you rewards of access to outside, access to you pull me, you get what you want. That equals a reward for pulling. So that means pulling's going to happen more and more intense, right? These are just examples. So having that bit of a behavioral mind and thinking like that will allow you to know how to respond when the dog's not behaving how you want. You don't want to go and give it a bunch of rewards because the brain's just going to see it as valuable. And they're going to continue to do it, and they're going to do it more intense. And so it's so ingrained, they're not even thinking, and that's just how they are with everything. Okay? Now I've just given him like a recall. Every time he stepped away, it was a correction and a recall. He's staying on his own because it's valuable to stay. If he stays, he's earning that reward.
I couldn't even do that 10 minutes ago.
You couldn't pet him?
No, I could not pet him.
I couldn't adjust the collar.
Look what he's giving you.
Good. And this is one recall, right? Like I see it as one. He comes to me, he walks away, he gets corrected. He walked away like 2 times. So I got a couple reps in. Now he's staying on his own.
Oh, I love
Maybe
Goldens.
build on this.
Can I tell you I love
This is where
Goldens?
he gets pet.
Oh my gosh.
He just relaxed more, so he gets pet. He relaxed more, he gets pet. If he amps up, I'm not petting. I'm correcting. Right in the future. Right now I'm just working on that recall.
Wow.
Recall is great because you need it. It's like number one to get your dog out of trouble and to you, right? But also it starts to regulate movement, which only really the leader can do, right? Nobody can regulate movement with him. We can only restrain. So if you have him on a leash, we can kind of stop him from going everywhere, but we're restraining. We're not training, right? So that's what he's used to. He's used to being restrained. And that'll cause frustration, and then that frustration will be associated with everything.
Oh my God.
More, he gets pet more. This is just basic behavior, right? The other thing to look at with the temperament is how the dog receives correction, how the dog receives authority stepping in and punishing and rewarding and all that. How they respond to correction is really huge, right? If he just takes a correction and then listens, that's beautiful. Right, we can work with that. If he takes a correction and goes into fight, flight, crazy town, just trying to buck the system, then that's a little bit more of a difficult temperament, right? They don't want to be controlled, but typically with Goldens, they receive corrections very well and they take direction very well once they believe it. Especially if you're giving the rewards properly and they see that you're a good leader. You're not just after them to correct them for fun and there's nothing in it for them. They see that there's punishment, but then there's rewards, and that they have a leader that they can lean on, and then they do. Typically, Goldens are a little bit easier, I think, than let's say some serious breeds like a Rottweiler who had, you go to correct a Rottweiler and he's like, well, now I'm going to correct you for correcting me. I'm not saying all Rotties are like that, but the chances that they are higher than a guy like this. So he hasn't received any serious corrections, but he had some mild ones, and I think he took it really well. Good, which is a great sign. Walter. Break.
Wow, Walter, good boy. He's also has to learn that break word because he's probably never been held accountable for a stay, so he doesn't know a release.
That's right. But you see how I said his name and he stopped and he looked at me? That's also a very good sign.
Very good thing.
If that's happening, then we know the process is smoother, right? Sometimes you say a dog's name and there's nothing that happens, right? He looked up at me, made eye contact. That's good. So far the temperament is looking good. I mean, we've seen some things that were a little concerning, he didn't want to walk in the room. He's a little insecure about that. He's young, but he's not that young. He's 18 months. There's that underdevelopedness you can see where he's just like in a new room, so I'm getting super insecure. That'll clean up once he has a leader to lean on, and then has somebody he can trust. That if you say, I know you're a little nervous, but come here, they trust you. And once they learn that listening to you doesn't lead to anything big, bad, and scary, then all that just fades away. So I'm not too concerned about it. Good boy.
Beautiful session.
And we just got started. I mean, that was our first rep. He's looking at me a lot around the resource. Because remember, dogs are very much hierarchical. And when it comes to resources, if there's a resource on the ground and there's a hierarchy established, they'll look at the leader or a higher up pack member and see how they should be responding to the resource. And resources are anything the dog wants or needs. So we're talking food, people, squirrels,
Space,
toys,
doors.
space, doors, because doors give access. So I seen with him, when I went and opened the door, he seen the door, but then he looked at me. And then he looked at the door and he looked at me saying, how should I respond to this resource? And that goes for people coming in and everything. So it's really that conversation goes to everything. You know how some people say, the dog's great until there's a person in the house, or the dog's great until there's food or something. That's just resources.
Yeah.
It's just how they respond to resources, and if they're guarding the food or something, they're putting you in your place, saying, I get first access. And that's actually a hierarchical conversation. And if you don't know how to address that, then the dog sees themselves higher up in the hierarchy, which means anytime there's a resource I want, I get first access.
Or at least I get to decide.
Right, and that's also a privilege of somebody higher up in the
Yes.
hierarchy, deciding how to deal with a resource or a situation. Come. That's my boy, good. That's a nice recall. What a retriever, good boy.
Yeah,
So
they always have a nice recall.
They typically have it just like built in, good. Unless somebody has started some training and kind of like messed it up a little bit and wasn't consistent with the position, and you get a lot of wrapping around and stuff. Typically, the retrievers come right to you, good, and they have that eye contact, good. I think they're a good breed, but if you don't raise them with, thinking about behavior and hierarchy, you can see that they get crazy, and then that crazy has all the symptoms, and people talk about the symptoms: pulling, jumping, barking, chasing things, tearing things up. Those are all symptoms of the core issue. The core issue is they're not listening. They don't do when you say do, they don't stop when you say stop. And then that is also a relationship dynamic issue, right? They don't see you relevant to listen to like that. They'll pick and choose. They'll say, does it benefit me to listen? That's why we're not sitting here using a high value food or reward other than my praise and my approval, because what that does is that flips the conversation to earn, and it says, will you do this to earn something you want, right? And by having that conversation, the dog gets to pick or choose if they want it, all right? And we're bypassing like relationship dynamic. It's just, I come to you to get the treat that I want, but as soon as there's something more valuable in the environment, I don't want the treat right now, I want that thing. And besides, when I come to you when I'm done, you'll give me the treat anyway. So we're not even having that conversation, okay? We're having a hierarchical relationship dynamic conversation of, leader-follower. We're creating a follower in that. And the reward is the approval of the leader, the praise. And that actually, if you do it right, is very powerful.
Yes.
Okay.
Handsome guy.
Walter. Right.
Nice! Wow! Different response to humans rather than jumping all over them.
This is new. See how he was a little cautious
Yes.
with my personal space? I haven't corrected the jumping or anything yet, so it's interesting to me that he's already, just because I have a little bit of control with that recall, he's already starting to change.
God, they're so trainable.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're very trainable, and they change quick, especially young.
They're just not stubborn like Buck.
Right. There's certain breeds that are more hard-headed, and they're going to give you a harder time. They're going to fight more for that position in the hierarchy. And there's other breeds that are like just begging for a leader. And I think most of the time, there's exceptions, but most of the time I think retrievers like Labs and Goldens they're good companions for families.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
They're still dogs.
Yes.
They're not lap dogs. They're still very much dogs. They like to do dog stuff. But it's almost built in the brain to not be aggressive towards people.
Yeah.
Although they're out there, those labs that are aggressive and those Goldens that are aggressive. It's more rare
Yeah.
than a bully breed, let's say, or something like that. just fixing this collar a little bit so the fur doesn't get in the way. This is something I couldn't do before I did that rep of recall. If I
Oh,
were to touch
no.
him here, he was all over the place. Good. So you can access that part of the brain. I haven't really done a whole lot of training, but I'm starting to access the follower part of the brain. Good. Great. Good. We're going to work with some resources here.
You want me to bring Riggins down? Because he's already on his way.
We're going to start introducing stay. Now I'd like to start introducing stay with a resource, because then it makes it obvious why I'm telling them to stay away. Because there's a resource involved in I want it. Right? That's very good. Break. Come on. Come. Good.
Wow.
Good.
Wow.
Good.
That's insane.
That's nice. Stay. These very basic things of recall and stay, not only are they very practical and useful when they're done well, the dogs understand them almost intuitively.
He's listening so nicely. It just goes to show that all these other dogs, more stubborn breeds, they know what you're asking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We talk about that all the time. It's about the hierarchy, right? They're not giving you a hard time about the commands like stay and recall because they don't like stay and recall. They know it represents control, which represents the dynamic being they have to listen to follower, which means they're giving up the ability to make choices
Yes.
and have first access. It's a ritual. Dogs will do that with each other. They will have these disputes about hierarchy so that that's figured out who has first access to the resources. And dogs are smart enough to know that the commands are linked to that
Yes.
conversation. So it's not really, they're not giving you a hard time because, recalls, I hate recall, they know it means they're giving you control. So they make you earn it. Okay? Stay. Good.
Wow.
Good. The food's representing the reason why. It's giving him a why I'm asking him. to stay
Context.
Right there. It puts context to it. Or if I'm just doing it dry with no resource, dog, it's a little bit more of like why, right? Yeah, they understand why. There's food right there. Keep your distance. Because if you want it, assume I want it. Break.
Yeah.
Smart guy. Good. It's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and let Riggins down.
Rig. It's the food.
Yeah. She heard that from way up there. That's my boy. Riggins is flaunting a resource, which he loves to do. Now he's going to check that out. There they go. The ritual's beginning. Riggins is spiked. But he knows that naturally he wants to have the conversation
Dominate.
about hierarchy.
Yeah.
He knows I'm not going to allow it, so he walks away. But when they first meet, that's what's on the mind, right? They want to settle that right away and have rituals of how they do that. When the human meets them, oh, you're very cute, let me get that filling of my cup, they don't think about hierarchy.
He wants to go outside.
Now he wants to go outside. So we'll let him out and we'll recall him in. He'll get a freebie on this door, but when we're done with this, he's gonna start learning to stay at the door. We're gonna recall him in now. Come. Come on, buddy. Come on, Walter. Good boy.
Nice work!
Good.
He's the one that didn't want to come in from the yard.
I just seen it right there. Good. Good. Another beautiful thing about the praise and the affection here, it means more because now it's contrasted with corrections. Right? Once you introduce corrections and punishment, all of a sudden praise and affection is more valuable. Right? Without that, without the contrast of having the opposite of reward, which is punishment, rewards are just, especially if they're given to it for free, if it's given to them for free, they don't mean as much. Good. When I say good, and I give him affection now that there's contrast, he knows that it means there is no correction, so therefore the value goes high.
Yeah.
Good. And then you get a dog who will work to please you. And when you see a dog working to please you, they get rewarded for that, and that becomes their association to you, which is a leader, which makes all the symptoms we complain about very easy to deal with, because all you have to do is say no. Alright? Good. And the dog will listen. Good. Break. Good boy. Good boy. So what happened out there with that recall is, I recalled him, and he kind of just looked at me, right? So then I recalled again with the tone, and he started to go in the opposite direction, because that's the association. He knows that that means control, so let me go in the opposite direction. The stim kicked on. I dialed up. He turned around, started coming towards me. The stim's still on, but I dialed down as he's coming in. He gets in front of me, it turns off. Very clear, right? But his initial instinct to the recall is running the opposite direction, which is very common when dogs get dropped off here. They see that, and they're familiar with it because people have recalled them before, and they say, oh, I know this. They want me to come in, so let me do the opposite, which is going in the opposite direction. Before I recalled him, he was just standing there looking at me, had no interest in going in the opposite direction. Once I recalled, that triggered the conversation of, oh, here's where they want me to listen. Now I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Now I'm going to just go away from you. He only had a couple reps of recall. He already knows what it means. And this is very common where they learn it within a couple reps, and the rest is just like really hammering it in there. But you can see how quickly, because of the e-collar, they learn it very fast.